Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Power Lounge. This is your place to hear authentic conversations from those who have power to share. My name is Amy Vaughan, and I am the owner and Chief Empowerment Officer of Together Digital, a diverse and collaborative community of women who work in digital and choose to share their knowledge, power, and connections. You can join the movement at togetherindigital.com. Today's conversation is about something every one of us does, yet a few of us master, and that is turning our personal stories into powerful business tools. I am thrilled to welcome with us here today Monica Miller, author, content coach, and international speaker who has made it her mission to help professionals go from overlooked to unforgettable. Monica brings a unique framework to the table. I love our frameworks, don't we, listeners? One that transforms heartfelt stories into magnetic messages that don't just inspire, but actually convert. In a world where we are constantly told to share our story, Monica shows us exactly how to make those stories work for our business, whether we're positioning it on social media, hosting a podcast like we are here today, or speaking on the stage. What sets Monica apart is her practical approach. It isn't just about going viral or chasing trends. It's about building trust, establishing authority, and turning listeners into loyal clients through the power of authentic storytelling. Today, she'll be sharing her signature storytelling framework, the 3 no's, giving our community the tools and to transform any personal story into content that connects and converts. Welcome to the Power Lounge, Monica. We're thrilled to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me, Amy. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Same. Yeah. Thrilled to have you here. All right. Let's just jump right in. I want to recognize and say hello, of course, as always, to our amazing live listening audience. We are here for you. I've got a number of questions here for Monica that we're going to kind of go through in the next hour. I would love it. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat. Don't be shy. You're the reason why we're here. And we always want to make sure we get the most out of every guest by knowing what questions you have to ask. So don't be shy about using the chat and asking your questions. Monica, let's start with the foundation. You say when people go from overlooked to unforgettable through storytelling. I think that's such a powerful statement. What made you realize that storytelling could be a powerful sales tool?
Yeah. When I was a little girl, I used to just tell stories that you can never get a yes or no out of me. You still can't. You still can't.
Right.
You know, anyone who knows me, they know I'm going to talk, I'm going to share like the story. And that drives my dad and it has drove some other people crazy, but I'm just like, that's who I am. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm not gonna do it. You know, I'm not gonna say yes or no. I have to tell you the story. Anyways, so, you know, I've always been a natural storyteller. Like, I've written books. I am writing a fantasy series if it will ever get done. I'm so creative and I love the art of storytelling. And I realized that I was sharing my story online. I was sharing nuggets of wisdom that I have been learning and I've been applying, but it was getting the hand claps and, oh, you're so inspirational, but no clients. And I'm like, I'm missing something here. Like, there's something that needs to be, like, something that I'm just missing something. So yeah, I took a storytelling sprint. So for 30 days, I had a coach give all of us who were going through it 30 different ideas, storytelling ideas to play with. And so every day we had to tell a story. And that helped me to close the gap of what was missing. And it also helped me to see, because I knew that my stories were important. I knew that my stories were viable. I knew that my stories connected, but the storytelling sprint that she helped us on launchpad me into connecting. Here's my story. Here's my offer. Here's how we can bridge it. So that way we can start getting more conversions. And I've had clients become booked out just through one storytelling post. I've had clients, when they utilize a storytelling formula or a framework system, you know, they've been asked to speak on stages like a satellite stage from the Global Leadership Summit. So because they were using the storytelling framework. So I do feel that the need that for people to connect is bigger now that AI is coming out. And although AI is great, I'm not saying it isn't, I'm also seeing that there are people who want to know I'm dealing with a real human being. It's not just some robot
Yes.
talking about whatever, like a made up story. Like I'm actually can connect on an emotional level, on a level that is deeper than what AI can go.
Mm-hmm.
And um, that's why I really feel that storytelling is so powerful.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to teach more and more people how to utilize it in their businesses.
Love it. Yeah, this just makes me so excited for all these follow up questions that we have for you, because a lot of us sitting here and listening have compelling personal stories, but maybe we struggle to connect them to our business offerings because it feels personal, right? And we've been conditioned to keep the personal and the professional very separate, and in some cases, in instances, yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
But what are maybe some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they try to share their story? And like you said, you tell it, you get the hand claps, but then it kind of falls flat. There's no action after.
Yeah. One of the things I see a lot of people make is one, there's no good hook. We're going to be talking about
Mm,
that in just a little bit, so
yeah.
stay tuned.
Yeah.
But there's really no good hook to reel the person in. I mean,
Hmm.
yes, you don't always have to have a quote unquote great hook because sometimes just sharing yourself, people feel the vulnerability, so they're
Yes.
already attracted.
Hmm.
However, having a great hook is always a great way to start any post that you're
Hmm.
writing. So that's a mistake I see. And sometimes a lot of my clients are great writers already. It's just sometimes the order could be reorganized a little bit better. So I
Okay.
had a client send me her work and I was like, hey, this information would be really good down here, or leave out that
Mm,
because it doesn't really fit into this story. Because a lot of times we want to give it all, we want to share it all,
right.
and it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It doesn't,
Right.
it's like, that's great, but that's such a minute detail that we can leave that
Sure.
out. Like that's not the main
Okay.
point. Here is the main point.
Uh huh.
And then the biggest one I see a lot is bridging your story to
Hmm.
your offer and having a
Mm,
very clear call to action.
that.
So
Yeah.
once you do that, you have to have that strong call to action. So
Hmm.
that way you're already building that connection. You're building that loyalty, that trust through your story. And then when
Hmm.
you swish it to your offer, it just makes sense.
Right.
And that's a practice. And some
Mm,
people get it right off the bat, while others, it just takes time. And that's okay because it's a skill set to learn and
yeah.
grow in.
It's a process too, right?
It
You have to
is.
kind of go through and trust that process. So let's dig into that because I know,
Yes.
like, I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat to want to hear more about it. But you have your signature storytelling framework. I'd love for you to just walk us through maybe the essentials and those elements that turn stories, like you're saying, into ones that actually convert, whether that's like those repetitive or extraneous elements or in those call to actions. Like, yeah, just lay it on us, Monica.
Okay, I will. All right, so the storytelling framework is really just three simple steps, and I'll go into them. So I'm going to go over them, then go into detail on them a little
Hmm.
bit more. So the first step is setup. So you want to have the setup, and this is where you're going to include that great hook. What I always tell my clients is to start in the middle of the story. So don't start at the beginning. Don't be like, the other day I was driving and it hit me. Like, no. You could say, like, it hit me like a board hitting a windshield. And
Right.
it about stopped me in my tracks. I'm about to cause a collision. That's going to cause a lot more like, oh, Monica's getting
Right.
like dramatic. And that's like, what was her fault that made her almost get into an
Right.
accident? Right? So you can start in the middle of a story or, something like that. One thing I did once, one of the hooks I used was I, I had a conversation with a lady, and one of the things that she said to me was like, you're not a writer, are you? And so I started the story with that. That was my hook. Because people who knew me, who follow me, knew I was a great writer. So having that as a hook, kind of like, what? Someone said that to you, Monica? And then I went into my story. And this is where you're going to start setting up the story, setting up that point that you really want to make. And then you're going to do the second step, and that is confrontation. So you're no longer going to talk about you, because the setup is it's kind of like about you. Now we're doing the confrontation, and that's now flipping the script to your audience. And this is where you're going to start teaching your audience, like, maybe you're busting a myth. Maybe you're giving them a different perspective that they never thought about. Or maybe you're reminding them of their desires. So you're going to flip the script. Remember, your story, and whenever you flip the script, should make sense. Going back to that example, I was sharing how this one lady asked me, "You're not a writer, are you?" And then she was like, "Oh, well, marketing copy is different." And I went into like, hey, you know what? She's right. Marketing copy is different. And if you've been struggling with, writing copy and you're not getting conversions, listen to the end. And I did a little bit of education about, this is marketing copy, and this is probably what you're doing. You're just writing to write. Here's what marketing copy looks like. And then I went into the resolution. That's the third step. The resolution is, of course, your offer. Because by that time, people are like, yeah, like I am writing a lot of content and it's not converting. So the resolution was, hey, I still got spots for my done for you content services. If you want one, less, hit me up in the comments, or, DM me. I mean, into a little bit more detail, of course, in that resolution. But the resolution was, if you don't want to do this yourself, I can take it over. So that all flowed from, oh, you're not a writer, are you? To, oh, hey, aren't you watching content is not converting? Well, hey, I got a service just for you. And from there, I got some leads to build my business.
That's amazing. Such a great story. And I love how you paired it all the way through, not just with the steps in the framework, but the example and working through it. That gives me so many ideas. And I can just see our listeners like writing all this down right now. And if you're driving, don't try to write it down. Just come back and play the episode again.
That's right.
But that's such a fantastic framework. And, it's like a common journalism cliche, right? Don't bury the lead, so putting that tension up front and first, and then connecting it to the audience makes so much sense. And what I love about your example in particular, Monica, is you got vulnerable. Like, a lot of people wouldn't want to talk or say, like, yeah, somebody looked at me and said, "You're not a writer, are you?" When that's literally everything that I am, as not even just my job, but really a part of who I am. So I think opening up with that vulnerability was tremendous as well. So I love, love, love it. That's so fantastic. All right, let's dig into this a little bit more then. And you talk a little bit about the 3 no's, KNOWS, for our listeners, 3 no's.
Yes.
What are those, and why are they critical to making your story sell rather than just kind of inspire?
Yes. So the 3 no's are: know your audience. So we want to have I know this is very foundational, so foundational, but it's so key. Knowing who your audience is going to give you the empowerment to know which stories your audience needs to hear. Because if you tell a story that your audience can't relate to, it won't make sense. Unless you just want to share it because you're funny or you're amazing or whatever. You can share stories that is not related to your business. But if you want to get more sales, know your audience. The second no is know their struggle and or desires. Have a handle on what is it that keeps them up at night. What is it that keeps them, is on a loop? What helps it, like what makes them go spiraling, right? And then also know the desires. What's the thing that they wake up and this is why they do what they do every single day? What is that desire? Where do they want to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? Know both, because you know that you have your desires, but yet you have your struggles right now and you want to get to the desires. So know your audience's desires. And family, the last no is knowing the solution. Of course, your offer is the solution. Know exactly how you can talk about your offer clearly. Know how your offer can solve your audience's unique pain and desire. Like, it helps solve the pain so they can get to their desire, whatever that desire is. And it could be a short-term desire, or it could be a long-term desire. It could be whatever your offer is providing at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever, this is what I say, whenever you know these three no's and start
Mm-hmm.
speaking to them, you will get more yeses.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so good. You are such
Yeah.
a good writer. You're very clever. I love it. I
Oh,
like
thank
clever
you.
writing. Right in my alley, speaking my language. All right. So a lot of our listeners are working in marketing spaces, digital spaces, content creators, business owners. Shout out to Nell. Thanks for dropping in the comments. She said she already has her notebook out and she's taking notes, which is
Oh,
not surprising to
awesome.
me.
Yay.
Not at all surprising. So, in that, sometimes it's hard. And I kind of alluded to this earlier. How do you know how much or which personal stories that are worth sharing versus what should stay private?
Yeah. I get this question a lot. And I feel
Mm,
that there's not an easy answer to this because
sure.
every one of us are different. What I may
Hmm.
be open to sharing, Amy, you may be like, oh, no, I'm not sharing that because we're different people.
Sure.
And what you're open to sharing, I might be like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
sharing that. So we have to choose and decide which stories
Hmm.
we feel we can share. And, one, we have to remember because we are business owners, we are out there,
Yes.
we want to maintain authority. So we don't want
Sure.
to decrease our authority. So we want to make sure
Yes.
that keep that authority, but yet build that authenticity and that
Hmm.
connection. So how do you do
Mm.
this? It goes back to really going inside of you and understanding what story do you feel called to share? Which
Oh, yes.
stories you don't feel called to share? Because like you
Hmm.
said, there are stories, I have stories upon stories, but not all of them are meant for now. And not all of them
Mm.
will ever be meant
Mm.
to share because it's like a story maybe between me and someone else. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that story maybe more in my heart than out
Mm.
there. So you really have to find, I feel like this is where it's like not an easy answer,
Oh,
but
sure.
go back inside and
Hmm.
feel your body
Yes.
while you're sharing your story. If you're feeling excited and like clever and like, oh, this is juicy, it's a good
Yes.
story. If
Uh-huh.
you feeling some apprehension and like, maybe it's not the right time. And
Mm.
one of the things I did create was um, a storytelling journal, and I have all these storytelling prompts in there, so that way you can not only share in a safe space, but then to identify, is this a story I want to share? Is this a story I'm willing to put out there? How does it make me feel? And so that can be a really great resource for those who are practicing acknowledging what's going on in their bodies as they write, as well as maybe having that better understanding of where is your personal line, because we're all going to have it. And sometimes we may overshare, and that's okay. We're human beings, and just learn from that and understand what was the line that I crossed. Okay, how can I put that, maybe in a boundary for myself so I can still be seen as an authority, but still be authentic and be me at the end of the day.
I think your answer was 100% accurate and clear. It was a definitive answer in the fact that the answer's within you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really about that balance and that tension of your authenticity and your authority, like trying to kind
Mm-hmm.
of keep those in balance. And then I love the idea of like listening to your body, listening to your gut. We talk a lot about that in episodes past and how,
Mm-hmm.
especially as women, that's kind of our superpower, but we discount it so much because it doesn't feel like what the world tells us, which is logic, 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 and
Oh
not
yeah,
body sensations, which is informing so much that we kind of ignore. So I loved that answer.
yeah, yeah. You're
Love that.
welcome. Yeah, that's something that I've discovered, and I have to tell my clients, I'm like, I can't answer that because you have to go back to you and what feels good to you, and that's going to be
Mhm.
different for everybody.
And do you find as well that like, I mean, that telling that first story is always scary, but I also think the input you receive after, like you said, it's like you are either going to break through and find your audience and get them to convert by doing this, or you're going to learn something. And if you kind of look at it as that, that's when like the bravery comes. It comes after the action, right? Not before it.
Oh
It's going
yeah.
to be scary to tell the story and do the vulnerable thing. But when you see the positive outcome, to me, at least in my experience, that is easily reinforced my desire to be more open and vulnerable about a lot of things in years past that I never would have considered, because you constantly get that positive feedback. So it just becomes easier over time. So just understand,
Yeah.
listeners, like it'll be hard the first time, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then next time it'll be a little easier each time, right? Do you feel the same?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, because doing something for the first time, you don't know what you're doing. You're winging it, and it's the first time. And sometimes, like, you land, and sometimes you may not, and that's okay. It's all
Mhm.
learning. All learning.
And I mean, what we're talking about here too, I mean, outside of just the fear is like that tension between being authentic and being strategic.
Hmm.
So, how do you help people find that balance where their story feels genuine and serves their business goals? Because I think that's another kind of area that can feel a little tricky and gray sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I would say go back to your three no's. Go back to that, because there is a place for for being strategic. Okay, there is, you need the strategic and logic because there's people who need that. Okay, and there's going to be people who need the emotional and that they need to feel warm and good and fuzzy on the inside. I'm kind of one of those people. Like, I'm also strategic, but I also want to feel good on the inside. I want to feel like I know you.
Yeah.
Like, that's bottom line. I want to feel like I know you before I hire you. That's just me. But there's some other people who are very logical. And if you
Sure.
explain, like, we're going to do this, A, B, and C, they're there. So this is where I would say go back to your three no's. Know your audience, know the struggle and desires, and know the
Yeah.
solution. And pull out some stories from, all three of them. Doing your strategic marketing, content marketing plan that you have. And then, yeah, so you're going to be doing a mix. So I say do a good mix. So you're answering the logical person, the rational person, the realist, and you're answering and talking to the people who need that good, warm, fuzzy feeling from you. So having that mix is going to be really good for you and your marketing. So yeah, maybe like you could pick days where you share more of that emotional connection, those stories,
Mhm.
and maybe some days where you're just doing more logic, or you could do every other post. I mean, because I do posts for the logical people, but I
Sure.
also do posts for the emotional people. So it
Right.
has its place. It's just, I would say, find that balance. If you're finding that, oh, I'm getting too logical, throw a story or two in there. If you're
Mm.
doing all stories and you need some logic,
Yeah.
do a logic, more that logical strategic post.
I love
So
it.
just keep it balanced.
Mhm.
It can be hard, but that's why it's really good to have some type of content plan to
Mhm.
know and see the balance of it all. I'm just a visual person too, so having that can help.
Yes.
Like, okay, I'm doing too much of this. Let me go back to this, whatever kind of post I need to be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic advice. Let's keep on this strategy train because we love a good strategy. You
Yes,
work
we do.
obviously with speakers and podcasters and social media creators who are working on a multitude of platforms. Does your storytelling approach change depending on the platform, or are there some core principles that are universal that go across the board?
Yeah. Whenever I'm doing a podcast like this, it's so much easier to get authentic and share. And it's also easier to get into the strategy, right?
Mhm.
I may not be doing a lot of storytelling per se in the storytelling framework
Mhm.
in my podcast, because I just share a lot of stories anyways.
Yeah.
And one thing that I know I aim for is not whenever I'm sharing stories, but maybe not then, but I will be sharing like some outcomes, like about my clients, what they did and their outcomes, or how I discovered how to be strategic versus, get into that emotional side in my own
Mm.
content marketing. So it does play a different role when you're speaking versus when you're writing. So I do feel that there is a difference.
Yeah.
The main takeaway is that I want every one of you to hear to find ways to be you, to share stories, whether that's about you or your clients, and then always find a way to turn it back to a result that they experience, you experience, maybe what the podcast host is asking you. And also letting people know about some of the offers you do. You can say it in like really easy ways, like, the storytelling journal I was talking about. That was an easy way I could talk. I just slid that in. I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying you could use it if you wanted to. So you can always tie in all three of the storytelling framework or formula into your talk. It doesn't have to look perfect,
right?
But you could tie it all in. It should always be a red thread through everything you're saying. I mean, that's the same way with the storytelling post. Is you want to have that red thread tying everything together, nice little bow.
Yeah,
that's the same way you should be on a podcast or speaking or doing a workshop, wherever you're at, using your voice in any capacity.
And that's so important. That it's something small that I don't think we always acknowledge and realize, but look at every great author, speaker, coach that you've ever seen out there. Like there's consistency. What you're talking about there, Monica, is consistency in the story that you're telling, because that is what builds credibility, authority, and trust. And I think sometimes we forget that it needs to be there. And sometimes it evolves, organically, sometimes it evolves intentionally, but either way, I think finding that and having that thread throughout, that's so important. So great advice, Monica. I love it. My next question, I'm going to actually build on it a little bit. It was initially what if I don't have a dramatic story to tell? What if I don't have a big transformative story to tell? I will also add to this for some of our listeners that I know are here and listening with us now. What if I don't feel like I'm a good storyteller? So it's not even I don't have a good story to tell, but I don't feel like I'm a great storyteller. Do we need to have a big transformation to tell a good story? Do we have to be a good storyteller to tell a good story?
No, I don't. I've never seen a bad storyteller. Because once again, it's a practice. Some of us are naturally good at it. Some of us need that practice, and that's okay. It's okay. And you don't need a big transformation. A lot of people assume, I need to have this rags from riches. And I don't have that story. Sure. I came from a middle-class family, and, we never went for anything. And, I mean, I don't know, we didn't have that. And then I started my business. So there was none of this rags to riches. I feel like I don't have this big transformation, or I was, living on my last dollar. You hear the stories.
Sure, yeah.
But one of the most powerful things that I know has transformed a lot of people's lives in my audience, and who have been like, Monica, is that story that has helped me to be like, I need you. I need your services. That's poured them in. It's whenever I share the minor shifts, because our lives are made and defined by minor shifts. Yes. Sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of people are stuck on minor shifts. But if you can show them that minor shift, one day, for example, whenever I was pregnant with my youngest son, Corbin, I was past 40 weeks, and you being pregnant, going past 40 weeks, you're just ready. You're like, get this baby out of me. And I woke up one morning and I just said, I'm going to have him in the next 24 hours. So I acted as if he was coming in the next 24 hours. I decided just to be like, I'm not, even if he doesn't come, it's be okay. I'll still be pregnant. It'll be fine. Right. I'm just going to out like that. So, and then of course I had him the next day. So that's not a big transformation. It's not really even a big thing, but it's a shift I made. And I could tie that easily into your mindset shifts for your content or your stories. How to shift that into, it's not this big transformation, but you don't need one to shift someone's perspective.
Oh my gosh.
More than likely, our perspectives are not going to change dramatically because of what one person said. Our perspective is going to shift 1% at a time.
Right. It is.
So just focus on the lessons, the shifts, the micro moments, the decisions you made, because those to me are more powerful than those rag and wishes stories. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Share
No,
that.
no, we love a good
Share
rags
that.
story.
Yes,
By all means.
share it.
But
But share those shifts too.
This is such a great piece of advice, Monica, because I think that the small moments can have such significance. And again, we diminish and downplay them, but they are so relatable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the big moments, we can't all say rags to riches, right? Because I'm middle class to riches. We could say, can't say rich to riches, but like there's something really magical in those small moments and small instances. And like you said, it kind of makes me realize now, looking back, Monica, I think we're coming close to like 200 episodes of this podcast.
Yeah.
And, one of the questions that I kind of routinely go to is like, what was that pivotal moment when? And it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I don't know why. I started taking it out, actually. And it would always bother me, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I think because subconsciously, I always knew that for everybody's story, it was not, there might have been a moment, but for the majority of us that have made powerful shifts in our lives and our careers, it was a number of tiny little moments that made us wake up and realize. So maybe the moment you woke up, it wasn't anything major. It was actually just a culmination of all these small moments coming together to bring something to light. So good. So good. Oh my gosh. And then, Danelle recommends to anybody who loves listening to storytellers who are bad storytellers, the Moth Radio Hour. It's a good one to listen to. And then they think they're all bad. And she says none of them are bad. So I'm going to have to check that out too. So thanks, Danelle. For sharing.
Yeah. I remember it's just a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a skill. Like, skill, and you have to practice, and start with the one of the challenges I would challenge all the listeners is to start practicing. How can you pull a story from your day and just share it? And not only that, but could you tie it back into your business? Because that's a good practice,
right,
on like storytelling, and beginning to see what works, what doesn't, what resonates, what doesn't. But it gives you that it builds a confidence to start saying like, oh, I can actually share this story really well. Like I mean, every day I go through, and I see stories everywhere, and I could tie that back into my business. But that's because I've been doing it for years, pretty much all my life.
Right. Right.
So just stop practicing that way, because it's going to build confidence. I would say even write it in a journal first to get the noise out.
Yeah. No, that was my next question. Yeah, that's my next question is, if someone's listening today who wants to start implementing the framework, what is that first step they should take to identify the most powerful story? So journaling sounds like definitely one of them. Would you add anything else to that?
Yeah, I will love, like, for those of you who are like, yes, like I want to start storytelling. I got stories galore. Here's what I want you to do, because I know you could get overwhelmed with all the stories that you can share. I want you to go back to your 3 knows. Know your audience. Know the pain and struggle and desire, and then know the solution. What I would love for you to do is go to each one and identify at least 3 stories in each one. That would give you 9 stories to pull from. So really begin with the know your audience. Think about, well, what are the 3 things my audience needs to hear right now? Where are they at? Where do they want to go? What is it that they are dreaming of? Or maybe so know your audience. Like, if you're pulling out, they are these type of people. What is their day to day? Second one is knowing the struggle. Get find 2 stories on their struggle. Their struggle was probably your struggle. And then pull out 1 story about a desire they have. And it could be a desire that you have achieved. Even if you're like, I'm still not there yet, you're still somewhere that somebody wants to be at. They wish they could be where you're at. So don't take that for granted. And you can share some shifts or some lessons you had to learn, or whatever it could be. And of course, know the solution. These are where you're going to start talking about how you came up with your offer, why you came up with your offer. It could be case studies, testimonials, walking people through. When Susie came to me, she was like this. Go back to know your audience. And when we began working together, she, accomplished this. and then going to the confrontation, and then of course the resolution, right? Of, hey, this is my offer. Like, come work with me if you want these same results. So start there, and then I would say, like, then there's going to be you writing them and posting them,
Right.
and it's going to be the implementation that you have to begin doing.
Love it. That is so
Yeah.
fantastic. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited to get some time maybe later this afternoon to put this to the test. I love it. All right. Looking ahead, I think in an era where, like you were saying, where AI is very prevalent, where personal branding, gosh, I loved my last, oh no, it wasn't my last episode. I guested on a show earlier this week, and the group that I was interviewing with, they do personal branding. And I finally just opened my mouth about it and said, I have nothing against folks who do personal branding. I have a problem with the word personal branding because it feels inauthentic. It feels contrived. It feels like I am putting on the mask of what I want everybody to see and perceive of me versus me just being authentically me consistently and building and creating my so-called brand. It's probably the word brand that gets me. It's like, do I have my own personal brand guidelines? Is there like a font that I always show up in? No, like I am a human, right? So yeah, there was something interesting in that too. So in a world where there's like influencers and facades and celebrity and brands and AI, like where do you start? How do you see the role of this more personal storytelling, which maybe that's the word we replace personal branding with, personal storytelling? Where do you see that heading in the next few years?
I'm seeing it becoming bigger because, like we were just talking about, AI, influencers, all these people who, like you're saying, like putting on a facade. And I feel like it's somewhere in the back of our brains we're saying, that's fake, or that feels fake, or that doesn't feel genuine. Like, they're not sharing like their why. They're not sharing how they got there. They're just like popping out and be like, I'm famous. And we all know that when you become famous, that's 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
No one's sharing about that. And then, I've been duped in that, like, I got caught up in that, if I just do it their way, then I will succeed too, without thinking about my energy, who I am as a person, any of that, like I think we all been there.
Yeah.
I see storytelling as becoming more and more popular. I guess popular is a key word, because we're always going to have those who are more intuitive. And they already, like, I follow some people who know, like, this is AI and this is not, and they will always choose a human above someone who uses AI. Not to say AI, like I said, it's not bad.
No.
It's just find a good balance, is what I'm saying. It's okay to use AI, but don't allow it to overtake your voice, because your voice has a unique sound to it, a unique flow to it. The more you write, the better you get at it. That's bottom line. And storytelling is always is going to be a way to connect. I mean, you would never see commercials veer from a piece of storytelling. They will always be telling some form of story.
Yeah.
If they're not veering off, why should you? And I know in the speaker world, more speaking coordinators are looking for speakers who can not only share a powerful story, but make people laugh and have a presence about them of not only that ease, but you can just feel them.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing that from a couple of like the speaking people that I have been working with, and I'm a part of some groups. And that's the number one thing that they've been talking about. It's just like they don't want to feel like this is AI. They want to feel you.
Yeah, they do. I love it. Yeah, we love to see other people in their element, right? And like vibing their vibe and being themselves, because it feels like permission for you to do the same. And it's like you
Mhm.
said earlier, it's showing you and them that you are somewhere that somebody else wants to be at. By the way, you got quoted in the chat with that exact thing right there, because that was so
Oh,
important. Such a good reminder for those who are listening. And this is why we changed up some of the events we've done with Together Digital recently. We did this. I said what I said. Instead of putting a speaker in front of the room with slides telling us how to like live our lives and create boundaries, this whole topic was not your superwoman. And we put people in groups of 5, and then we asked them some very deep questions about where are they still being the yes girl, and what boundary have they recently created or they need to create to see a change, and then what does enough look like for them. And it was
mm,
so cool to watch these women like dig in and share their experience and share their story, because like you said, our lives are so multifaceted, and there's so many layers of experience and life that are thrown in there, that there's never one person that has the authority and the answer. What you only have is your own authority and your own answers, and really finding the ways in which you can show up and share that and tell those stories and be what you're saying, I think is relatable as well,
mhm.
is what makes you magnetic, right? That's what makes people want to hear more from you.
Yeah, and remember, sharing yourself, sharing your story is
Mhm.
healing, not only for you, but
Yes.
for your audience.
Yep.
Like, you know, people can find healing in your story and in
Yes.
themselves. And that's like so powerful. Like,
Mhm.
you may not see it, but
Yep.
I've had, one client come into mind, and I mean, I see her growth because
Mhm.
she keeps relating back to my stories, and
Yeah.
and because I'm sharing, it empowers her to share, and it empowers her to
Uh-huh.
open up. She's already a really authentic person, but it
Yeah.
empowers her to open up even more in a way that
Love
her
it.
clients may not see her. And
Mhm.
so it's healing. It's a healing balm. That's why there's
It
so many
is.
memoirs out there, right?
Mhm.
So remember
I
that.
love it. And it's not a selfish thing. I think that's something else people worry about when they start to tell their stories, is they're like, "Oh, I'm just making it about me." No, like you're sharing your story and getting vulnerable to show others that they're not alone. And that was the one thing that like I think got us all in the feels at the end of our last event was, we said, what's one thing we're taking away from tonight after the event and the conversation and the learning shared? And one of the women said, I'm leaving not alone. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I love it." So yeah,
And you
that's
can
it's getting
build.
something.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Amy.
No, no, you got it. Go.
Yeah, you can build such a community with your story,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I think we forget that because
Mm.
people. I mean, I have had people tell me like, I wanted to work with you, but I didn't know how until I heard this story, or until you open up this offer and you share this part about
Yes.
yourself.
Uh-huh.
So just know that you're creating a community with your story. People are going to identify you with your story.
Mhm.
And that's just really cool. And like I said, it, you can feel free to just share your story just because you want to share your story. And you can always share your story to create more sales too when you use a storytelling framework.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, live listening audience, I know you guys have been popping today, so lots of good comments, lots of good conversation. But if you have questions, feel free to drop them in. Oh, here we go. Terry's right on it. How do you get over the feeling that vulnerability feels like a sign of weakness, especially in a professional setting? Great question,
Mm,
Terry. Thank you.
wow, that's a deep question, Terry. Hmm. I think it go. I feel like there's different facets to answering this question, so I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. If I was feeling like sharing myself is a sign of weakness, and in your head, oh, it's not, but maybe your body is feeling it,
Hmm.
I would recommend taking some time. I know I don't always like doing this, but it's so healing.
Hmm.
Taking some time for yourself and really identifying that moment where you associated whenever I share myself as weakness. Because
Yes.
that's going to be the one place that you can identify where maybe that memory, and you can start healing it. And then
Hmm.
once you start working on that piece, then it's going to be, you will never feel ready. Okay. You will never ever feel ready.
Hmm.
there's a point where you will need to take that action. Scared, you might be scared, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can do it in a safe area. Like I offer in my coaching programs, that safe space to share first before you post it, because sometimes we just need that. So when you're ready to share, now you won't be ready. When you know I need to share, then you can start practicing that shift of sharing my story is powerful. But it can't, I don't know if it's going to happen until you heal that memory and what it feels in your body. I would also suggest, I love EFT tapping. Like that has been a big go-to of mine.
That was last week's episode. Go back and watch it, friends. No, isn't that so crazy? I was really just literally thinking, oh, we should talk about EFT. Continue.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that because it helps move some of that maybe muscle memory that you have. It helps move some of that energy. I've also found that sometimes my body needs more. And so sometimes I like to shake. Since I have a 3-year-old son, sometimes I just put on music and be like, let's dance and shake. And here I am shaking and he's just dancing. So we do that for a couple of minutes. So take care of your body, your internal, before you can go out and serve, because we have to take care of us before we are out there serving others. That's probably my best answer. Of course,
that's great.
If you wanted to dive deeper, we can always do that.
That's amazing, Monica. I love it. Yes. And I think you're right. You have to rewrite the story. You had to find out where that source of that core truth came from and start to take it apart brick by brick, piece by piece. Because I think at some point you're going to start to realize that sharing is actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
Oh, yeah. Because you're shifting your mind, right? You're shifting the neural pathways and you're creating like a new pathway.
100%.
And it takes time. It's not going to be overnight, poof. No. It's going to be little by little, but it's going to be a lot of practice and getting out of that comfort zone. And I would say heal that piece first before moving, because that could set your nervous system aflame, and we don't want that.
No, that's where the tapping is really brilliant. And I'm kidding you not, folks. It was literally last week's episode.
Oh my gosh, I have to listen to it.
All the places where you listen to podcasts, it's there. So Terry coming in with another hot and curious question. I love it, Terry. What % of your clients are men? I don't remember a man presenting and showing his vulnerability. Wonder what those stats are.
That's a great. I never looked at the stats. I'm trying to think. I know that I have listened to men tell their stories.
Sure.
I think what I've seen. Okay. Like maybe Tony Robbins, he might. I don't really follow him, but I feel like he would probably tell his stories.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of men probably share in maybe smaller settings, unless you're Tony Robbins. Like for example, I'm a part of a networking group, and the guy who started the networking group tells his story in front of a smaller group. They're called Shiv University, and it's like a 2-day event. For the network, for the people who are in the networking group. And he tells it in that space. And there was probably 50 people in that room, 40, 50 people in that room. And that's the only place he shares his story. He doesn't tell it online. He doesn't share it at his conferences that he hosts 4 times a year. So I wonder if there's something there sometimes, right? But yeah, so that is something that I would be interested in to know. And I was like, I need to geek out on this and look up what's the stats.
Well, and if I had just in general, humans are hard on other humans about vulnerability. And I think conditionally, as people who are conditioned to nurture, women are allowing for, and I think capable of more vulnerability just inherently on how we are conditioned socially. However, what kind of world would we be living in right now if men if they were able to? And I think it comes back to a lot of social constructs and systems and conditioning, toxic masculinity. It doesn't allow for them to be open, honest, and vulnerable, because then they get seen as weak. We are emotional and they're weak. They're not man enough. They cry, boo-hoo, you're a baby, you're a mama's boy. There's just so much behind all of that. Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways, and I'm not pointing fingers or blaming at all. I'm trying to name the things that I think are holding men back from doing these things and having these breakthroughs. And I think as a whole, as a society, as humanity, like we all can benefit from more vulnerability. But you look at people who are at the front of shame and vulnerability research. Who do we think of? Brene Brown, a woman. I would say another one who's alongside her a lot, that's a man that's a great one to listen to, is Adam Grant. He talks a lot about times when he's really screwed up and made mistakes. And for the guys who are listening, I mean, recognize and realize those men who have been vulnerable and owned their stories, in a lot of the ways in which you're talking about here, Monica, have become extremely successful. I'm not saying that's like your only motivation, but it actually is a tool in your tool belt to where you can stand out and you can be perceived as different and you can reach a broader audience because you're not just strutting the strut. You're actually like talking to men and women, which at the end of the day, that's where I'd like us all to be able to get to at some point.
Yeah, yeah. And Terry, I want to let you know that I don't have any men clients yet. I would take on a male client, if they were the right fit. So just answering that question.
Guys, if you're listening, find Monica. Monica, where can they reach you? Where's a good place to connect with you if they'd like to connect with you and start some of this work?
Yeah, you can always connect with me on my website, monicawrites.com. So writes as if you're writing a book with the S, writes, monicawrites.com. If you're interested in setting up a time to just connect and see we will be a good fit to work together, you can always get on a free 30-minute call with me. I can put that in the chat if you want me to, however you want me to do that, Amy. And that's monicawrites.com/calendar. I can type that in if you want me to. And so if that's something you really want to do, or if you want to email me, my email is just monica@monicawrites.com. And you can find me on Facebook. But my Facebook name is Monica Lynn because, I don't know, it's been Monica Lynn, Lynn forever.
I get that.
Yeah. I'm working on getting onto LinkedIn. I just need to just make that plunge into LinkedIn.
Well, here, how about this? So all of our podcast speaking guests get a 3-month membership to Together Digital. After this, claim that. Do an onboarding with me. We have got so many members that are really good at helping you hone in on your LinkedIn presence that just know it and understand it inside and out. I would include myself in that. So always happy to do a one-on-one with you because you've showed up and given us so much today. We always want to give something in return to our speakers, but also this group and crew is just great for accountability because sometimes it's like I am a eat the frog mentality kind of gal. It sounds disgusting, but it's from a Mark Twain quote that says the first thing you should do every morning is eat the frog. And it's because you should always do the hardest thing first, because otherwise, if you're like me, I check off everything on my list possible. I look so productive, but I didn't do the one hard thing that I needed to do all damn day. So definitely check that out, Monica. Love to introduce you to the broader community. You've offered us so much here today, but again, it's like that whole rule of reciprocity, right? I really feel like our members would have a lot to offer and help you too, because I think LinkedIn is a perfect place for you. We need you on LinkedIn, Monica. This needs to happen. So we'll work on that.
Yes. I work really well with accountability. So I'm just like, I just need somebody to hold my feet to the fire. And that's what I do with my clients. So I'm just like, I need somebody to do it for me.
Right? You know what? We got to check on our strong friends too, right? Awesome. Oh my gosh, this was so amazing, Monica. So many just like awesome nuggets in this conversation today. Really, really helpful, really insightful, really actionable, which is always something we love on this podcast, is having actionable steps, things that we can walk away with, go into the weekend, hopefully carve a little time out for ourselves and just really spend some time just sitting in what you've given us today, because I think it can really do some great things for some of our listeners, whether it's their business or their professional career or them personally. So everybody who's listening, remember the podcast Power Lounge recording is available on YouTube. It'll be streaming wherever you get your podcast. If you found value in today's conversation and you're not yet a member of Together Digital, I totally invite you to check it out, join. We have over 48 virtual events a year, 12 expert masterclasses, peer groups, an online community that's super supportive and amazing. We are not meant to do it all, and we are not meant to do it all alone. So do yourself a favor and just stop and really find a space that works for you. and that wants to work with you. Monica dropped and shared all of her information as well. She dropped her calendar into the chat. We will include that in the show notes. Please reach out to her and let her know if you want to talk more. Monica, again, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and generosity today. It has been super awesome talking to you. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I was just letting people know in the chat that if you want to email me your story. Let me look at it. I'll
Oh,
give
I
you some
love it.
tips. Yeah, do that.
That is a
Well,
great
thank you for
gift.
having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Our pleasure. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Until next time, everyone, please keep asking and keep giving and keep growing. We hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Produced by Heartcast Media.